Okay, so I covered Spider-Man as being a good start to the Spider-Man trilogy. Now I'm going to talk about Spider-Man 2. And I got to tell you, this is the best out of all three, bar none. There is no question about it. And largely because I felt it was a more complete story. You really got a good story arc with Doc Ock. You really got a good story arc between the three major stars, which is Peter Parker, Peter Parker's best friend, and his love interest. But most importantly, you really got a better action sequence. I thought there were memorable action sequence that cannot be topped. If you ask for me what my top 10 is, the action sequence between him fighting Doc Ock on the side of the train, not on top, but on the side, is just basically awesome. I can't even say it myself. If I have one major problem, and I'm gonna get to it, is the final train scene, and you guys know what I'm talking about, where his mask was gone. It was pretty much gone. What happened was, I think it was fire that got on his mask. He had to take it off, and his whole face exposed. I mean, everybody can see his face. I don't, and when they I don't know how they got hold of his mask. I really don't. But they gave him his mask, and they said, "Don't worry, we won't tell nobody. Your secret is safe." The first thing I'm saying, yeah, okay, this is the world of YouTube, my friend. Somebody's gonna download that. His secret is not safe. I don't care what anybody says. But in any case, that was the only beef I had with this whole film. But that's it. I really have very few complaints. I actually. And that's always a good thing when I can sit there and say, all right, that's pretty much it, but it's a nitpick. Who cares? Just enjoy the film, and I did enjoy this film. I really did enjoy this film. I guess one of the main thing is that you really they picked up where they left off. They didn't just throw everything out and just start something fresh and new. No, this is like a continuation to one. You can feel the continuation to one, and how they did it was they showed you scenes from the first one to remind you what has happened leading up to this one. You see the bitterness of his best friend, Harry, because of the fact that he feels that he knows who Spider-Man is, but he's not telling him. And the reason why he's not telling him is because, of course, everybody knows Spider-Man. That's because he wants to protect him. And you can tell, it's like every time, and especially when it's a party, when it's a birthday, you can tell that he's there, he's trying to be supportive, but he really not feeling Peter right now. He's like saying, where you been? Taking pictures of your friend. Be honest with me. If you knew who he really was, would you tell me? And he didn't answer that question, and you can just tell that it's eating him up. It's just pissing him off. And one of the scenes I think that really shows, and again, the editing, is when he had the argument, and you can tell that Mary Jane is telling all sorts of harsh things, and then he comes out of nowhere and smacks him. I mean, I'm like, whoa, where that came from? It just came out of nowhere. He smacked him not once but twice. It's just like you can pretty much see he's drunk, and they still playing the character as he has no luck at all. But it really struck vibes into what what was happening with him, and that's a lot because he's playing Spider-Man, but at the same time, by choosing to be Spider-Man, is also ruining his personal life, because he's making too many sacrifices. Man lost his job in a pizzeria because he was late delivering pizza. He's struggling to pay the rent. He's not getting as much money because on his pictures, because they're not what Jameson wants, and even when he's getting paid for the money, he still owes money to the news company, because they gave him an advance and he has to pay back. So a lot of stuff is happening to him to the point where it's now messing him up psychologically. And I actually like the fact that they did that, because now there's a sense of doubt, and because of the sense of doubt, it's affecting his powers, and it's coming at a very bad time. He's falling off buildings, and he's basically it's coming at a time when he's facing octopus, where his powers is just not working. The psychological is endless, and it really does play well for this movie, largely because now he's starting to doubt whether it's a good idea to be Spider-Man, or whether it's worth being Spider-Man. And at times, he actually stopped being Spider-Man. He stops completely. He said, "I don't want this." He's like fighting if it is in his conscience. You see him, talking to Ben, even though it's in his mind, saying, "I don't want to do this anymore. I am Spider-Man no more." And that's largely after he went to the doctor and told him that, you still always have a choice. And he just lived his life, basically everything's normal. But he realized that inside him, he just can't really see himself sitting idly by while stuff is happening around him. And one of the big scenes that I also noticed is when he saw somebody getting beat up, and you can tell that even though he wants to mind his business, the thought of that started to get to him. And one of the major scenes that really became a sticking point to him was when he went to try and save the girl. And he did, even though the girl technically saved him as well. When he found out that there was another dude in there that didn't make it, it started to get to him. Because he said, what if I was Spider-Man? I could have saved her and saved him. And that played into it. There's a lot of thoughts that play into it. You also see him finally telling Aunt May about what really happened that night, where was he, and everything else, and you can tell that pretty much devastated her for a while. But she got over it. She forgave him and talked to him about it and said, it took a lot of guts to tell me what happened, and I'm proud of you. And you can also see that Aunt May herself is dealing with some problems, because keep in mind, she's trying to maintain the house, but after a while she said, "To hell with it, I'll just get an apartment," and that would be it. So a lot of stuff is happening. A lot of stuff is being thrown out there. And then you also got the character of Doc Ock, which, believe me, was probably best portrayed. I was a little worried about that character, but he was portrayed very well. He's a scientist who is determined to see his projects go through. He loved his wife, which I was kind of surprised when I first looked at it. I said, "Ain't that the same woman that played in Insurrection, Star Trek Insurrection?" And it turned out it was. You see the tragic incident that led to him being Doc Ock from his death of his wife, as well as the mechanical arms he built for that particular project of holding a very dangerous, I think, microprobe something, and as a result, something went terribly wrong, which infused the arms into his in his spinal column. There was a chip he made to keep the arms from controlling him. That got burnt out. So now, pretty much, they were pretty much saying that the arms itself are speaking to him in many ways, and they want him to actually complete his work. And he wants to complete his work. For a reason I don't know, but he wants to finish that project and prove that he could have controlled it. The battle scenes with him and Spider-Man were classics. I actually enjoyed it. But more than important, I actually enjoyed the fact that they still play that revenge angle with Harry Osborn. He really wants Spider-Man. He does not like him because he still blames him for the death of his father. And I'm like, okay, this is something good. And that's going to play a part. Even though the trailers pretty much gave it away that he finds out who Spider-Man is, and it leads to pretty much Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man again, because Mary Jane gets kidnapped, no surprise there, and B, crime for some reason has risen 110%, 1,000%, some ridiculous number that makes no sense. That was the part I actually had to laugh. I said, "You mean to tell me one man kept have the crime rate that low that when he was gone that it just shot up dramatically. I just that was kind of like okay, whatever. It's a movie. Let's move on. But in any case, when he basically he quit. Threw his suit out, gave it to Jameson. Jameson hung it up, and Jameson now looking at it saying, "Yes, Spider-Man is a hero." And then when he turns around, he realizes the suit was gone because Peter Parker got it back. And he's like, "He's a thief! He stole my property! I'll get you for the Spider-Man!" And Spider-Man came back, and for some reason the papers immediately posted that, even though I'm pretty much doubt that actually happened. But he went to fight the octopus, leading to probably one of the best best comic book fight scenes I've seen in a very long time at that time. And pretty much it led to him actually finally getting captured, after leading into Osborn. He gives him what he wants. He got what he wants. He wants to stab him, but he wants to see the face of what he feels is his father's killer. And once he sees who it is, it pretty much threw him over the edge. You pretty much saw he lost it there. It was bad enough that he lost his father in the way he did, but to find out that Spider-Man, the person he accused of killing his father, is actually his best friend, that was too much to bear. And I kind of wish they did a better job with that in 3, but again, I got to get to that later on. I'll save my review for 3 when 3 finally comes around. But in this one, I really was interested. Wow, he's not feeling it right now. I said this is must, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna set this up where that's how he's gonna become the Hobgoblin, because the way it is, the way his facial expression was, and the words, and he said it in such a low but very cold word. Peter, you killed my father, and and you can tell by Peter's face that, look, man, this is gonna be on between me and you. I need to deal with this. Tell me where he is. And the one thing I always ask, how did he knew where he was gonna be? That was the one thing. I don't remember any scene of Dr. Octopus saying, "Hey, I want this, and by the way, if in case you need me, I'll be over there at the pier, putting my weapon on just in case you just want to see me." So that was the only thing that always bugged me out about that one scene. Is that how did he knew? He never told him. I mean, so obviously he must have not had a good hiding place, whether at least for him at least. But it's nothing much. We lead to the final battle between him. It's not really a final battle, but you see the battle between him and Spider-Man. It was kind of pretty much classic. Then he snaps him out. He snapped the Doc out, telling him, "Look, you can't do this. It's going to destroy the world. Look what's happening. We got to stop. You gotta stop this. Sometimes we have to, give up the things we care about." And it pretty much snapped out of place. And he said, "Look, I'll deal with this because it can't be stopped. I'm going to drown it with him in it, by the way." And he pretty much, they gave him a pretty much redeeming scene. He dies, but he dies pretty much a hero. I don't have a problem with that too much. I pretty much thought they was going to go that route anyway. But in any case, Mary Jane finds out the place collapsing. He swings to safety. She tells him pretty much that, "I know who you were at that time." And he went on some speech saying, "I can't, be with you," blah 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 blah. And of course, her fiance, which is Osborn's son, came to an aid, which is an astronaut. And you had the one scene which I said, okay, now we're getting somewhere. The scene where he finds out about Osborn finding out about his father's experiments, and from there you pretty much said, okay, this is where the Hobgoblin is finally born. And it makes sense because the way he snapped when he found out who Spider-Man really was. Scenes ends pretty much with her pretty much when a runaway bride. She ran off. She dished the groom. Went with Peter saying how much she loved him, how much she wants to be with him no matter what. The film pretty much end with the radio signal, and he goes out doing his thing, and she smiles, but then she also worries. Film ends. 3 in the making. That's pretty much it. Like I said, besides the stuff I just mentioned about the fact that Osborn knew where Doc Ock was, even though it never once, and I've seen this film a dozen times, it never once explained how he actually knew where Dr. Octopus was, where his hideout was. The fact that the newspapers seemed to dramatically over-exaggerate the fact that the crime was up 1,001%, and the fact that that there were a lot of scenes where if Spider-Man was really that high, he should have been dead no matter how much strength he has. This was a fun film. I can care less about that. I enjoyed it. It was everything I come to expect from the first one. I got it from the second one. The characters was great. The action was great. The pacing was way better than I expected. They had some very good classic moments I enjoyed. I liked it the way the story followed through, how the story ended. There's really nothing else I can say other than fun. And besides a few nitpickings, that's what it is. They're just nitpicking. I really did enjoy this film. This was the perfect follow-up to the first one. Really, really done a tremendous job with of how they told the story. And I give Sam Raimi a lot of credit for that. Like I said, the complaints I have are just nitpicking. They're just something that I noticed, and it just scratched my head a little bit. But it never took away from the fun of this movie. I really did enjoy this film very, very much. And again, that memorable fight scene on the train is something I'll always hold with me. I was like, wow, they really went out with this scene. That was original. I never seen a scene like that before. Maybe it did in the probably the 30s, 40s, and or 80s, but that scene will always remain iconic to me in the film. Again, I kind of wish they didn't do that. Don't worry, we won't tell anyone after they gave him his mask. But what the hell? I mean, I gotta tell you. That's all pretty much I got to say about this film. It's a 4-star film. Again, this is the film that I recommend if you guys see it on DVD or Blu-ray. This is a family film. You guys will probably enjoy more with the family than you just see individually. Not that you don't have to see it with a family. You can see it just by yourself and be fine. But I think you have more of a fun effect when you're seeing it with a group. Because this is one of those films, again, like the first one, where a lot of people got into this movie. I mean, they got into it. The fight scenes, they definitely got into it. It's one of those films that you can really, sink your teeth into. And if you have a bunch of other people who are watching with you, it'll be 10 times better. Makes the experience much, much more better. That's pretty much all I got to say. There's nothing else I can say about it except it's a 4-star film. That's right, it's 4 stars. So, and that's being that the fact that I haven't done a comic book movie with 4 stars in a long time when I saw this film, it still holds up today. We'll talk about the third one when it comes around, but for now, that's pretty much it. Until next time, this is J77 saying, take care, be safe.